guys should be able to see me in the camera. I'm red, orange, and yellow. I'll go all the way around the horn. So everything around me should be somewhat blue or black. I mean, it's pretty chilly out here, so it should be definitely blue. But with that said, I'm the warmest thing in the video right now. It's set to white, hot, black, cold. The reason for that is we want to be able to see the black and blue pieces move on their own. That's really what we're looking for with this camera tonight, is those pieces to move on their own. We're always going to have somewhat blue or black in there, and I'll back up so you guys get a little bit more background. But when I'm removed from the frame, what's going to happen is that red, orange, and yellow is going to go somewhere else. So we really want to try to keep somebody in view at all times, because I mean, we're going to be the warmest thing out here, 97 to 99 degrees. So again, we want that variation of color, so it's much easier to see any kind of cold entities moving on their own. So the cool thing is there's a couple of cheat sheets on here. When you guys get your video back, you're going to see a little blue dot bouncing around the screen all over your frame. That's giving you the coldest point in the frame at that moment. That's kind of a nice little cheat sheet that the new upgrade has. Also, the user is going to have a bar that's going to give them the highest and the lowest temperature in the camera at that point in time. Rich, you and I are the studs tonight, by the way. So check us out, man. So normally, normally with my bridal parties, I'm like, ladies, I'm the hottest thing in the video, you know. But I was like, I didn't do my joke tonight. So, but anyway, you will get this full video back. The start and stops, I will give that cue for. So, Rich, I think we're gonna go with you on this. I've been kind of heckling you all night. So you're gonna hold that to your left all night long. Your hand just went over the camera, perfect. Everybody does it. But that camera piece that's gonna have the cord attached to it, you're gonna keep that on your left.
She is a ghost.
She is a ghost. She doesn't show up. Even when I say let's stop the video, because it is recording right now, I want you guys to all have that, you know, that tutorial basically at the beginning. Nope, keep it on your left. Okay. There you go. Because what happens is I send it to YouTube, and YouTube, when we start and stop it, it doesn't know that the video flips, so then part of your video will be upside down. And then I have to give out Rich's phone number, and that way you can know how to complain to, because it won't be me. So, I say we get into spirit boxes. What do you think?
Yes.
Yeah.
Somebody's excited. All right, so well, we're just going to go into it. Are we fans of the TV shows? Is that why everybody's here? Like, everybody loves watching the paranormal ghost hunting shows? Lara's like, no, nothing at all.
She really wanted to do a ghost tour.
Well, this obviously isn't a very typical ghost tour. This isn't going to be just stories on a street corner.
Sounded like more fun.
Oh,
I mean, I found this one, so.
Okay.
Well, that's the blue dot cold spot.
So it's just going to give you the coldest spot at all times.
Are the ghosts here only ghosts from Charleston, or they come from other places?
Oh, we're going to talk about that. That's actually a very good, relevant question. So we're going to talk about that as, I think it's our second stop. So I'll kind of get into the middle of that.
Okay, I'm looking for some.
If you brought somebody with you, that happens often too.
Okay.
So again, what's going to happen tonight is not really based on me, because the ghosts aren't on the payroll. I can't make stuff happen. But sometimes you guys bring them with you.
Oh, cool.
So, and it doesn't matter if somebody's strong enough that wants to be able to speak to us, they're going to come through no matter what story I tell.
Good.
So we'll see what happens tonight.
Okay.
So don't tell me anything about who you're expecting, but we'll see if something pops up.
Okay.
Again, I'd like to not know, just so in case something does pop up, it's definitely relevant to you.
Okay.
Spirit boxes, just so you guys know. These devices are going to sweep through FM radio stations at a very quick rate, kind of like on your TV shows that you guys don't watch, where it's just white noise. And then Zach Bagans usually tells you in the middle of it what he thinks he heard. It's a very over-the-top host, if you guys don't know who he is. But we're going to be doing this in real time. We're going to use several different types of spirit boxes tonight. This one in particular is going to record the entire session for us with no background noise. Mine are also slowed down. It's not just white noise. I want the radio chatter to come through. The song lyrics, the DJs, the commercials. I want that stuff to come through. When you hear it, I want to know what you've heard. Again, no matter how silly you think it might be relevant to the location of wherever we are, a person I'm talking about in history, or even something with one of us. So again, we never know what it's actually going to come up with. With the recording tomorrow, I'm not going to listen to the full 2 hours, because it will record. Only one of these devices will record. So we're going to leave it to one, so that way you're not getting hours and hours of just, white noise and all of that. But with that recording, I will give you 15 markers of things, 15 to 20, that I'll catch while I'm spot checking it, whether it's relevant or not. The reason why I do the or not is because it's helping you to listen for what I listen for when I'm going through it. Odd things that would come through the radio, not your common commercials. Again, anything that says the word Charleston, obviously we're listening to Charleston radio stations. So we're going to kind of omit those. I have 2 of these that I'm actually going to be passing out tonight, and they will get earbuds, so that way the person listening to it has a better chance of actually capturing something, but yours is going to record since you were so stoked about spirit boxes. So you have one button to worry about. It's a wheel at the top. Everything else is already preset. You can see it spinning through the stations. You're going to control the volume, but I will give you a set of earbuds here shortly. I do not want the earbuds back, so I do buy them in bulk, so they've never been touched. They're all in individual bags, just so you guys know.
So what should I don't need to like, I just have to keep it down?
You'll keep it down for now, but once I give you your set of earbuds, then you can listen to it. You can listen to it as much as you want to. If you don't want to listen to anything I have to say, by all means, turn up the earbuds. So, same thing over here. We're going to hand this in.
You like that spirit box, right? You said that.
Again, the wheel at the top, button here. Yours isn't like so detrimental as yours because yours is the one recording. You don't want to have multiple recordings and be trying to figure out what order they go in. So just make sure you don't hit that button. Just to kind of get this part out of the way, give you guys a set of earbuds while I'm explaining the other.
It's interesting.
Lowlet? Oh, wait, I think it's about you guys. Fair long. Oh, okay. I grew up in Wayne for it's up there.
Alright, your group's a little different because these 2 are parties of 2. You guys are parties of 3. This spirit box does not record anything either, and it's also open air. So what that means is all 3 of you can listen in at the same time. But the fact that it doesn't record, and I gave Rich the audio or the video camera, his records audio as well. So in the event you guys hear something, hopefully we'll hear it on the camera as well. So your particular volume button is on the side of the ball speaker where my index finger is. So you hold it up to get some volume out of it. Takes a minute, and then obviously when I'm talking to the whole group, you'll turn it down. So, Laura, that's going to go.
Sorry, where is it? Just because
It's okay. So you're holding it
it's
up,
so
which is perfect.
dark.
On the right-hand side, you'll feel a little button. You don't want to push it in. You want to gently hold it
Oh,
up.
I'm just gonna push it
Yep.
up first.
Yeah, get used to it.
Does this also pick up light? Because I think it's interesting that sidewalk here. It's almost showing heat.
Well, the
then when
sidewalk
you-
is going to hold more.
Right. But then when you come up, it even retreats. So are they picking up some energy from that light
So
up there?
if the light is shined directly on it, it's going to keep that part of the tree warmer. It's that sensitive.
Yeah.
Your
Okay.
concrete is going to hold more heat
Right.
than obviously the blacktop. So
Right.
that's going to be way warmer than the blacktop. Probably a good, I would say 5 to 7
No,
degrees.
they are the
Interesting.
same thing.
It's very
It's pretty
interesting.
similar.
Oh, okay.
Adrian, you're going to use our last spirit box. So yes, the 2 of you are going to be using 2 different types of spirit boxes. So let me explain to everybody what this guy does. This one's going to give us a word at a time in the center of the screen. And it's going to save all those words to a list. The cool thing about the list is it gives me timestamps, so I can check out different parts of your audio and video, so that way I can kind of see what matches up. Now, what I'm going to tell you about this list, there's the history here. That's last night's tour. Make sure it's empty. Yeah, we don't want last night's tour on there. We want to start you guys off fresh. 80% of what comes out of this thing doesn't mean anything. Why? Because this is a phone app. It's meant to be a game and a hoax. So the whole gist behind it is the game we're playing. Is it coming from a ghost or is it coming from an app? So again, at times I'm going to say where are we at with the word list, and all you're going to do is you're going to hit that little white button right there, and it'll bring up the list. I think it's being a little sensitive. It might be from the temperature.
Okay.
So just because it needs to be. There we go. When you have words on here, you'll be able to scroll through them. I will come to you when I want to see them and kind of let you know what's relevant and what's part of the 80%. And the only other thing you'll have to do is hit that circle back.
So is it like if we maybe hear something through here, it might pop up there?
Well, the other piece of it, it's not so much that you're going to hear the same thing. Like that says the word tool right now. That was the last word from last night's tour. So you might get like, we're standing next to Big John's. You might hear big, but the name John might come up here. I'm looking for full sentences. Like that's what I'm really after. What messages are going to be tying together. So again, it's not necessarily going to be the same thing. If it is the same thing, I normally pay special attention to it when it is the same thing, or if somebody else heard, like you heard something and then you heard the exact same thing on your end. That's where I'm like, okay, we might actually have a tie here of something I don't know about. I'll have to do some extra research.
And should her thing be scrolling, or should it just be on the one station?
No, it should be scrolling for sure.
It's just on the one station. Maybe just that.
I guess when you work in the dark as much as I do, you kind of memorize where everything's at on there.
Yeah, pretty good.
All right.
Word change.
Yeah, it's gonna change from time to time.
Cool.
This guy here, this is a multitasker. So it's a one-handed device, which is kind of nice. That's why I'm kind of handing it to you. You may need two hands from time to time, but it's okay. So this one is kind of like it's an electromagnetic field. It does multiple pieces, but an electromagnetic field is kind of like on your TV shows where they kind of show you the little blinky lights that maybe something might be nearby. This one is way more accurate, and it also measures anything that would be man-made or like basically electrical lines, cell phones, things like that, if it's too close. So anything above 2.5 on your big number, I'm going to want to know what it is so we can try to debunk what's actually happening. The bottom number gives us ambient temperature. If Rich finds something on his camera, you and I will be able to debunk it or prove it rather quickly with this probe at the top. That's automatically going to stay on. The last thing that this guy actually has is called a REM pod built into it. It will detect motion. If something gets close to it, it's going to go off. The closer it gets, the higher pitch it's going to go. So again, we're not going to use this part all the time. That's why I said it's only two-handed part of the night. Just because when I'm trying to give you guys history, this can be very distracting for me, and it'll take hours to finish this story. Again, I just want you to focus on the red numbers for now. Keep the little flap open so I can show you more about that motion detector at our first stop.
So I'm supposed to tell you if it goes
Above 2.5. You got it. And you get to carry the bag. You are getting the brand new device, but it's also the easiest.
Okay, good.
Yeah, no.
So, quick demo with this guy. I know it looks complicated, but it's really not. She's like, oh my God, Ghostbusters, let's go! Let's do this. All right, so quick demo, just so everybody knows what we're working with here. You should not be able to see me in the camera. If it is, it's pretty dim and dark, right? So I know it's a small screen, everybody. So we're gonna turn on some lights. We're working with full spectrum lighting with this guy. I should be in a pink or purplish hue in that now. So basically, this is light you cannot see with your own eyes because the camera's watching it for us. The hope is that when we're recording, we will be able to capture something we cannot see with our own eyes. So again, I'm going to test something new tonight and see how long the batteries are going for us by recording our entire night. So again, before I would do some start and stops, I may even have you stop and make it a little almost like a breakaway. But yeah, we're gonna see how much we can record for you guys tonight. You got it. And even if you don't see anything tonight, and the same thing goes for you, Rich, it's okay. You're gonna have videos to watch on YouTube, on your television, computers, however you want to watch them tomorrow. They just go back to my website. All right, everybody, slow it down. Go have fun. Let me know what happens. No, I'm kidding. Don't go anywhere. So, all right. So there's a reason why. Any questions, comments, concerns so far? Except for who else is going to be following us. All right, so we start here on purpose. This place is Big John's, so obviously the place behind me. It says established 1955, but it just reopened as Big John's, not like a rebrand opening. It used to be named after a football player, Big John Kennedy. This was his bar back in 1955, obviously. He was a football player for the 1947 New York Giants. I'm always going to slow down to emphasize key words during your story, by the way. So your Spirit Box folks, which there's a lot of you tonight, even in a smaller group. So with that said, I'm going to emphasize so I know what's going on. But 1947 New York Giants, he used to sit in the back of the bar, and he would tell the bartender if the cadets coming over from the Citadel, if they were old enough to drink or not. One night, two guys come in, they're not old enough to drink. He has the bartender throw them out. So they leave pretty mad, and they come back the next night and try to steal the cash register from the front of the bar. John sees what's happening. He gets up and just starts beating the heck out of these guys, just pounding them right into the floor. A couple of shots go off. John gets hit in the neck, and the bullet lands in the wall. So John gets up after being shot, goes back to the bar, tells the bartender to get him another beer, get the two guys on the floor, an ambulance. So, first off, nobody died in that story. Yes, I seen a little grin like, haha, that's kind of a funny story. But he's also the only person that got shot. His blood is in the walls of this building. Do I know if the bullet hole is still there? I don't after the renovations. My apologies. I know, bad research. But at the same time, people that sit in the front of this bar tend to get a little queasy, nauseous, headache, very light symptoms. If any of you feel any of those symptoms tonight, because we will be, fingers crossed, dealing with paranormal activity tonight, I need to know immediately so I can move us all to safety. So I will tell you that just a few weeks ago, I had a person pass out on this tour. Wasn't the first time, probably won't be the last. I will tell you that story once we get to that location because it is definitely relevant to the story. Very creepy stuff. So let's not talk about our own health, right? Rich is like, yeah, what the hell did we sign up for? Let's talk about same building, earthquake, 1886. If you've taken any type of Charleston history tour, they've already told you we had a big earthquake here in 1886. This is allegedly where the first death occurred from that earthquake. So a piece of the mantling that you see in the middle of the building also wraps around the front, basically broke off, hit somebody in the back of the head, and killed that guy. They say you can see his ghost in the middle of East Bay Street in the middle of the night. So I say apparently allegedly a lot with that because I don't have any proof. It's just a great segue, so nobody's thinking about getting sick on the tour. So, you guys all ready to go about something?
Yeah.
No, I'm not sure. I really don't know. All right, we're going to go this way, guys.
Should I still be recording here?
Yeah, keep it going. I'll give you the start and stop cues. I'm pretty good at remembering.
All right.
Also, a piece of note, with those of you with devices that are not recording any data, which 2 spirit boxes and obviously the millimeter that we have going on, you will see me pull out a little notebook so that way I'm getting all activity. I am recording it manually, so it will be in your notes in your data tomorrow morning. I am that little nerdy writer guy with a little sciencey notebook. So, your time with me should be thought of as kind of a ghost hunting 101. This is kind of your level 1. This is a practice area, just to get used to your devices. There is a little bit of history here, and the reason why I use this spot is because it's a one-line piece of history. This is where we keep your horses for the carriage rides. It's kind of cold out here. You guys can probably smell them still, but I can't because I'm out here 6 nights a week. However, this is the same red barn where we held horses that delivered milk and eggs to the residents of Charleston. Spirit boxes. Let's get into you guys first. This is not television. This is not a big, massive production. This is not, is somebody here? Like everybody wants to ask to a spirit box. If somebody answers no, that means somebody's here. So we're going to stay away from yes and no questions all night long. You all are hopefully here for some type of paranormal proof. You're not going to get that out of yes or no questions, I promise you. We're going to go after the details. So, the history here, right, was the big red barn held horses that delivered milk and eggs to the residents of Charleston. So if somebody's here, first off, tell me what color the big red barn is. Those are the types of questions we're going to go after first. Answers you already know the answers to. As we move along, I'm not going to be giving you answers. So, obviously we're going to be looking and listening for the color red, right? Because you already know what the answer is, because you answered it in the question. However, the spirit boxes that are using radio sweeps, meaning the only one would be Adrian's that's not, everybody else, that word red might not be in the DJ's vocabulary at that point. However, fire truck, blood, heart, all 3 of those things are specifically red, right? So, what color is the big red barn? Blood. Happens all the time. Not to say specifically blood, but something that is specifically red. It's not going to be truck because that truck right there is red. You guys make sense out of that? So, in the event that you don't get an answer like that, open it up. What's inside the barn? Now we have animals, horses, delivery, milk, eggs, anything that could be relatable to a barn. The word barn itself, we never know. But again, this is a great, practice area, so you guys get used to using your spirit boxes and all of these devices. I am going to work with the cameras first, just so you guys get kind of the gist of how those spirit boxes work. Also keep in mind, most questions that you'll answer, I'll usually require 2 pieces of evidence of some type to verify what just happened. For example, what color is the big red barn? Blood. That's acceptable because it's a direct answer. In the event you hear the number 40, right? And then Adrian has the word art on her word list. Art Faircloth was number 40 on Big John's team. That's a verification to me. Also, if we have an EMF spike out of the millimeter that you're holding. Those are 3 things that say, okay, something's happening. Maybe we didn't get the full message, but maybe somebody just wanted to let us know that they were here. Do you have something already?
Yes.
What do you got?
Meat. MEAT is red.
It is, it could be red.
Could be
Because,
red.
I mean, poultry is not necessarily red, right? So that would be white meat for sure. So, vague, but you're on the right track.
Okay.
So, again, I'm not here to make stuff up and go, wow, that was awesome, you got meat! You know what I mean? Like, no, that's not what we're after here. We're
Okay.
after a little bit more specific details.
We're supposed to tap it and see if something else comes up.
Something
Yep.
like milk and eggs could also be protein and calcium. I have seen that before. So again, I know milk and eggs, because they're one syllable, would be much easier to grab, but somehow or another I had protein and calcium one night. Just craziness when I'm talking about milk and eggs. So keep that in mind with your spirit boxes. We are not going to go near vehicles. Again, some of these places we're going to go to tonight will have vehicles nearby. People do not like their cars being filmed, and they definitely do not want us in between vehicles trying to capture something over there with different types of cameras and noisemakers. So kind of keep that in mind. Are you like freezing to death? I see the camera shivering.
About along there, right?
So spirit boxes, go ahead and spread out. Cameras, I do want to keep you with me. If you want to hang out, you can. I know it's kind of hard to separate from parties, but I do want to show the cameras a little bit more tactics about their devices, and then I'm going to jump on your device to show you more about that motion meter. Do you have any ratings, by the way?
No.
Anything above 2.5 at all?
No.
Okay, so basically you can walk around slowly and wait for that to come up to 2.5 and start asking questions on your end. Listen closely and try to remember what you hear. Because remember, yours is one of the recording, so we're getting.
What kind of questions?
So again, what color is the big red barn? What's inside the barn? You know what I mean? If there's a football player here that played with Big John, tell us your jersey number. You know, something you might know the answer to, something I can actually prove. Does that make sense? And at the next stop, I'll give you even more questions.
I don't know if it's like that.
All right, cameras. So, Rich, you kind of got the gist of why we want to keep somebody's skin temperature in there now.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sure
sure.
you've been definitely taking on the specs of like how does this actually work.
Well, you picked the right guy.
Do you use one of these?
No. I've worked in
Oh.
the film industry for years. I was a cameraman.
Oh, perfect. And we're actually working on getting a gimbal for that. We just can't find that one that will fit around the battery.
Nice.
So,
Get like a steady cam.
yeah, we've been kind of going different angles. Again, the bag only holds so much. It's already getting pretty jam full.
Yep.
But in here, with as far as the temperature gauges go, you got metal, asphalt, cars, obviously foliage. I mean, get used to how those temperatures move around.
Oh, yeah.
I will
That's
tell you
why I've
that when
been-
the sky is in view, that blue dot will default by going to the sky. So you want to try to keep the sky out of view. It doesn't know what to measure.
Right.
So it will always go to the sky because it needs a surface to measure.
Actually looking at the tree.
Yep. Some of these places that will be impossible to do. It's fine because I'm always watching for the blue and black things to kind of take motion on themselves anyway. So, but yeah, experiment with it in here. We're not going to spend a lot of time in here. I just want to get you guys used to moving it around.
Yeah, that's why
So,
I'm playing with it.
yeah, get used to it.
Does this what am I looking for?
All right.
Not a blob, right?
Right. So point the camera at me for example.
Okay.
So I should be in somewhat of like a pinkish circle,
Yeah,
right? And then you got
right.
another one to my right. So what I'm looking for is the
Okay, yeah, I see it.
You're losing all your heat through your pants. Look at her pants. Your pants are on fire, but your jacket is blue.
I know, I'm freezing. Maybe there's lots of ghosts around me. see if I hear anything.
What? Something happened over here.
No, I just heard like party music. See?
Something happened here.
You hear? It's party music.
Something happened here. Come over here. Something happened here. An eye. Something happened to an eye here. Something happened to an eye here. Someone got shot in the eye or something over here. Someone lost an eye here. Oh, growing? Happened eye growing? Growing. Something's growing here, an eye? Something's going on here. Something's going on right here. An eye is growing here? There's definitely something going on here. A tall. Someone's growing tall here. There's a tall, someone's growing tall with an eye. It keeps changing fast.
Okay, oh, you're reading all that. If someone is here, wait,
There's something growing tall
Oh.
here with an eye.
if someone is here,
Yeah.
show us the color that we're staring at.
There's someone tall.
Oh, I just heard like. What's that from? So bad.
There's someone growing tall here with an eye. Where is he?
She thinks she found someone.
She was saying she was picking up something over here, and I got some very long video. It was getting very, very dark blue, black.
Okay. Was it moving though, or was it just kind of pulsing,
Yeah, it was kind of going with the
swirling
wind,
around? Okay. I'll definitely take a look.
but it definitely was getting way darker.
Joanne would love this.
The only word that was
Focusing
over, you said
heavily
was
on-
tall. What?
What happened?
on that spot, you were picking something up.
Yeah.
And it was definitely getting way darker blue and almost black.
Oh, there was
A little
something there.
movement
Rich,
there.
you'll have to
He
watch
said Big
the
John
video.
was probably tall. I can't wait to watch the video.
Oh, I just heard a song that I like.
Right. Everybody in. So, I told you I'm going to be taking you to some beautiful places, right? Come to another parking lot. Again, I am going to be taking you to some places like this, things that once were. So this is a very interesting lot. This is probably one of my biggest hot spots of the night. We will be spending about 10 to 15 minutes here based on the amount of activity and the story. So, first off, I will tell you I'm not going to be giving you questions like what color is George Washington's white horse, like what we did over there with the red barn, right? So, speaking of the red barn, let's kind of give everybody the gist of what's been going on so far. We did hear New York Giants and red wine on that spirit box. So again, what color is the big red barn? Red wine. We'll take it. And then we heard heart, right, on your end. So who had New York Giants? Was that you?
No.
Oh, you heard the New York Giants? So again, last night, for example, I was over here. Keep in mind, we're only 1 block away from Big John's. The term giant showed up on Adrian's list, and I said, oh, we'll wait, see if anything else pops up. Big John's jersey number shows up 2 words later, which was the number 20. So again, can't make that stuff up. Where are we, and what the heck are we doing in a parking lot? This used to be the Eliza and Charles Pinckney mansion. Their house actually stood in front of this lot facing East Bay Street. And we're going to talk a lot tonight about why the houses are set up the way they are. But because they actually put the whole front of their house on East Bay Street, you guys have been walking around Charleston a little bit, you notice some of them are skinny in the front and then they go long back. There's a couple reasons for that. First off, you were taxed based on how much you were, of the sidewalk you took. So if you were skinny in the front, you didn't get taxed as much. Well, the Pinckneys, they didn't care because they had a lot of money, and they were pretty much bragging that they had a lot of money by putting their whole house broad the way they did. So Eliza and Charles actually had a son named Charles. They had a nephew named Charles. That's 3 different Charleses. You guys see why I usually require 2 different clues to verify who the heck we're talking to? So the son and the nephew were signers of the Constitution. Pretty big deal for us here in South Carolina, but you guys are all on vacation, and I don't want to talk about politics either. 2021. So let's go on to what happened with Eliza. Eliza's way cooler anyway. Eliza got married to Charles at a young age. I'm not going to say how young she was, but I will tell you that Charles was over double her age. So it's not as creepy as it sounds once you guys get the actual answers. You can ask questions about that as we're going through the investigation. She married him because her father over in England thought he was dying, and he wanted to see all of his kids one last time. So she didn't think he was dying, so she stayed put. This is 1744. There's no such thing as a green card or citizenship. So again, she married this guy out of love. It was a pretty big deal. So Dad was, he didn't die right away. So Eliza was right. And he starts sending over gifts from England, kind of apologetically. One of those gifts happened to be the plant indigo. You guys have all been here for at least a few hours that I know of. You've probably seen the word indigo around town and didn't realize why it's so important to us. Indigo was already here. It's a plant that makes blue dye that makes our blue jeans blue. Some of you are wearing it tonight. That's what we still use it for. And it started right here. But it was already here based on the Gullah slaves that we brought over. They were already learning how to cultivate it, so when her dad sends it over to her, she needs to learn from her slaves how to keep it going in our cold temperatures that you're experiencing tonight, because this is cold for us. So, yes, I'm a northerner, but my blood has thinned over past decades. But anyway, once she figures out how to keep this indigo going, she moves it to another plantation just north of here in Mount Pleasant, and then calls her dad up and says, hey, rice plantations are going downhill. We can make a killing with this indigo. We now have an international businesswoman during colonial times. Something absolutely unheard of. So, that's the facts about Eliza, but let's get into the weird stuff about Eliza. So first off, she was the second wife named Eliza from Charles. So now we're dealing with 3 Charleses, 2 Elizas. Both Elizas went by their maiden name, which ironically starts with the letter L. You want to ask what her maiden name was, so that way you know which Eliza you're talking to, by all means, hopefully you get an answer. Ask what happened to the mansion. It's obviously not here anymore. Then you can ask when that tragedy happened. Yes, I'm giving you a clue that it was a tragedy. So kind of keep that in mind. Hopefully you get the year of when it happened. Eliza's death. Ask anything you want to. She's pretty open. Eliza, when did you die? What did you die from? Where are you buried? She's not buried here, which is why this is the point where I say people don't always go where they're, it's why we don't go to actual cemeteries. So the reason why I do a lot of investigations, you're not going to get a whole lot of activity where people are buried. You're going to go to their favorite places of where they love to be. which is why we're here. And you're going to realize how far away she actually is buried because it's not here. And then you can also ask what U.S. president acted as a pallbearer at her funeral. So, again, pretty important stuff here. These are all definitive answers. The children, and then I'll set you guys free. The children, I already told you there's at least one. His name was Charles, signer of the Constitution, yes? So there's more. I will tell you, do not poke the bear, because if you keep going with it, there's a tragedy there. She doesn't want to talk about it. So if we keep poking, all activity will stop. Do we have anything going on with the EMF meter, Diana, back there? Have you had anything above that 0.5? Really? Okay. That's interesting. Because again, this is a big hotspot for EMF. But maybe get the children's names, how many she had, kind of leave it alone. Just don't poke that bear. Again, with the cameras, stay away from the vehicles. If somebody's going to their vehicle, we're going to go the opposite way with the cameras. As far as getting in between the vehicles, we're not going to be doing that either. Car alarms. Yes, I have some really crazy tools still in the bag, but I like the perfect one stuff with the cords. But again, let's crank up those spirit boxes. Let's have some fun. I got to read down the few notes that we have from the take that I've learned so far. I will be bouncing around all of you to kind of follow up from as I'm going around the night. So you're going to see how this is going to go. So let's crank them up and let's have some fun. That's it. Do we have a ghost in the tree?
What?
Okay.
And like, but it's very fast.
Yeah.
Supposed to like stay there.
Nope. So I will tell you, like, little, you guys watch the TV shows, like, stick go to blue. So that way you know they're only getting so far to make it go to blue. It's not that they're touching it, making it go to red or whatever. If you can get an answer out of it that way by asking a specific color, that works too. When I'm using, if I'm in an area where there's been children ghosts, I'll say, show us your favorite color. And I name off all the colors. answer to that.
Okay. I don't know if that was anything.
Are those the front steps to the mansion?
No, those actually were to a restaurant that was once here, early 2000s, called Molly Darcy's.
Mm-hmm.
The carriage house to the home was actually over in the corner, so the center of the house would have been a little bit further to the left this way.
I was hoping to pick up something at the steps.
Most people do.
Got two
But
words.
nothing.
Assemble and happy over there near the
No,
tree.
Happiness is another different feeling or emotion that I can't prove. Somebody's asking a question, the answer can go anywhere. We literally have 6 points of audio tonight, 4 spirit boxes, my audio, and the audio from the thermal imaging camera. So that's why I asked, who's asking which question? To say 75, you need to say 70. She died at the age of 70. So again, I told you, it's going to pick up words before and after, and that includes numbers. So again, I wouldn't take that as solid concrete yet. Maybe we'll see she's going to tell us how she died. So maybe you guys should focus on that for a few minutes. We're on the right track. I just want to verify the 75 actually meant 7. I am going to definitely note that for sure. You heard fire?
Yeah, firehouse.
Anything else related to firehouse?
Run. I heard run too. I don't know if that means anything.
You get run a lot on the digital spirit box.
How about nerve?
Nerve? Yeah,
No.
your words are really vague so far.
It froze.
Rose?
Yeah.
Where are you?
What's on this year?
I was just saying, who would have thought I would have packed
There's hot pans in the palms too. Like I was shivering getting out of the
Yeah, I
car.
would have never thought. I packed a bathing suit.
That would be a good question for me to ask.
Well, you're in the right spot to start asking. She heard the word firehouse. Maybe try to get what year. If there's fire, show me a hot spot on the camera. On the box that I'm holding. When I say hot spot, it's like I'm sure high 50s, early low 60s out here. So, sorry. I'm gonna wave off the
I
screen.
think the low is going to be 49 tonight.
Well, I'm looking for hot spots that might go up into the 70s. So if she's going to show you anything, I've never had anybody try to do something like that, but why the hell not? There's a first for everything. Right?
Sure.
So we'll see if she'll show you a hot spot.
Show me the hot spot in the 70s.
Is that a bee? Yeah.
That cold quick.
You want me to stop
Show me
it?
that hot spot again.
We're stopped it. Once I start backing up, it's starting to pick up. I don't want to end it yet. Not a whole lot going on. Let's just wrap it up and figure the answers. But they're actually getting all of this.
huh, again.
Wait, when it like
See if somebody gets the answer. 18? No.
All right, I asked for a hotspot, and every once in a while when I'm panning across, I get a big yellow flare here.
I have the last name. What's her last name, Addison?
No.
Oh, okay.
She's not going to show it to you now, but you're recording, so I'll be able to take a look at it. So now
It
you
was
give him,
it was very, very bright right here.
and I don't suppose you saw what the temperature was up here to show, like it's showing 70s now, which is weird. So what it shouldn't be. What's your center crosshair say? 65.
Problems I didn't bring my glasses.
Yeah, I didn't either. I was even in a car.
No, it was very, very bright yellow.
Okay, I'll definitely take a peek. But yeah, that's good. That's good, good shit.
Show me that hotspot again. Ah. At a spike of 77. I need somebody with good eyes. I forgot my glasses. Can I borrow you? What is the temperature up there?
That's in 66, 67. It's like keeps changing between 66 and 67.
I asked for a hotspot and I keep getting the C right over here. But he wanted to know the temperature. Thank you. Forgot my glasses.
We're not dealing with Eliza. Let me see if the other girls throw anything, and then if they haven't, then I'll wrap this up and get you guys some answers.
Okay, sounds good. I know, that would
That was perfect.
That was
What'd you get?
I get tingling.
anything, Rich?
Lara and I thought we had an experience. We go, what is your last name? And then Addison comes up. We go, is your last name Addison?
It was nothing.
No. It was exciting for a minute.
Show me that hotspot again.
So, Rich, you're looking for blue?
Moving blue.
I'm looking for anything. Just when I was standing over there looking this way.
I thought you were looking
asked.
for moving blue.
No, he told me, he said, ask about a hotspot. And I did, and I was getting all sorts of yellow flares in the middle here.
Alright guys, let me get you guys the answers. We're going to go over to this
We
corner.
were
This
up like
way.
66, 67 on that flare.
Okay. Very cool. You can actually stop your video now and kind of give it a break. I got you back on record.
Very good, thank you.
Alright.
Bring up the rear, I don't want to walk into anything.
I definitely twisted my ankle.
Step slowly. It was all cobblestone.
I know. It was my...
Like I said, do I have to push in a wheelchair on this?
Oh my God. We would have been crippled.
I have to pull it backwards.
Yes.
It's a quiet area, so this is going to be kind of a brief stop. Can we hear any names along the way here?
I thought I just heard the name Morgan.
Morgan. Okay. Anything coming out of here too?
I just heard the word illness.
Illness. Nothing. Okay. Adrian, any names come up on your list?
Nothing.
All right, so let me tell you where we are.
Design.
So this is Lodge Alley. It's not a stop that most tours like to go to, which is why I like to come here. The last crosstalk that we just came over, that was where the original Charlestown walls used to be. Charleston used to be called Charlestown, the walled city. You just pass through the invisible wall. This is one of the first streets that we actually had. So again, Lodge Alley, people used to live here. Like that's why I asked for names. I have the full list of residents of people that lived here. It's not a lengthy list because only 4 to 6 people lived here at a time. Little tiny shotgun houses. So we talked about the big broadness of the Pinckney Mansion, right? These people were considered lower class. So it makes sense too because the other side of the wall would have been across the street of East Bay where we were walking, and the smell of low tide would be coming through here quite often. Now, they did do an archaeological dig underneath here, and they did find some of their tools and silverware and some of their clothing, and they were able to help classify these people as lower class based on what they found. The names I commonly hear are Benjamin and John. I know that sounds like 2 very common names, but again, this list isn't that long. So these 2 guys lived here in 1801, so that's according to the list. If we're unsure of which John we actually heard the same night, he gives us his last name as well, Johnson. I've had that several times. Yes, his name was John Johnson. So the interesting thing about that is back at the Pinckney Mansion site, you were dealing with an intelligent ghost, getting direct responses. Over here, it's more residual. Ghosts that do the same thing over and over and over again. I normally get those names about every 6 to 7 weeks, just to kind of based on moon phases and time of the month and that kind of mentality. Just keep in mind, I'm always looking at those things to see how the different types of ghosts are going to react at different times of the year. Did I expect Benjamin and John tonight? No. But if it does occur, I'm not going to take it away because Benjamin, being heard on a spirit box, is pretty definitive to this location. This is called Lodge Alley because the Freemasons had a Masonic lodge here. Okay, so we do get the word Freemason, Mason, brick, clay, because that's the type of bricks you're walking on. Not to mention the term Illuminati has shown up here more than once. So take that for what it's worth. This is just an interesting kind of segue to kind of give you a better layout of the land and what kind of streets we actually had when it was called Charlestown, the Walled City. From here, we are going to walk through the rest of the alley. We're going to keep filming. You're going to stop your films. I'm sorry, I didn't tell you to start filming, my bad. You can film here, but we do have the thermal warning. You can stop your film once we exit the alley because we will be coming through a neighborhood. If we go left, I get a ticket, so we're going to go right. Even though we're ghost hunting on an activity, this is still considered a tour throughout the city. So when we go right, we're going to go up and learn about Philadelphia Alley. I heard somebody else mentioning another alley. Did you guys know of another alley here?
Yeah, I don't remember what it was called. It was a very narrow alley.
South of Broad Street, and it was a very
yeah.
creepy little, but lots of growth.
Yeah. There's quite a few alleys in Charleston, so we're going to see 2 tonight. However, Philadelphia Alley is not one we can pass through, especially with the gizmos and gadgets that we have. I'm the guy that got kicked out of the alley because you guys joined the annoying group, and we have the loud, lights and all that stuff, and it is somewhat residential towards the end. So what we do there is we actually kind of go across the street from it so you guys can get the full view going down the alley as I tell you what actually occurred there. Do we get a lot of activity that way? We do. We get quite a bit. Spirit boxes will usually go nuts. EMF meters, not so much, but we might get a motion from time to time. So we'll kind of see what happens once we get there tonight, and I'll kind of let you know what's going on down Philadelphia Alley. From there, we're going to dive into some myths and legends. Do I expect anything there? We never know. Again,
Got cotton.
Ghosts aren't on the payroll. What do you have?
Cotton.
Cotton. I want to say glass. There was a factory here at one point that made glass. So I don't know if cotton would be relevant. I'll dive into the cotton piece. It might be just what the clothing was made out of. So if they found specific pieces of cotton.
Foliage.
That's an interesting term too. I don't think I've ever seen that on there. After the myths and legends piece, which is going to be another brief spot, we're going to dive into a female pirate like what we did over at the Pinckney Mansion site. So if you're into pirates, this is a whopper of a story. You're in Charleston, you guys got to know something about pirates. So again, it's a crazy one. So let's go see what we find at Philadelphia Alley. I just like to do that. I thought you saw something. You have to go see what it was.
It's grab.
What do you got?
Grab.
Grab.
Grab foliage. Grab cotton foliage.
No.
Alright, I'm going to line you guys up over here. So you guys get the view. In the meantime, I'm going to be cleaning this out. Tell me you're cold. You need to have socks on. So the alley behind me is Philadelphia. So Philadelphia Alley used to be called Jewelers Alley. That's where duels used to occur for the city of Charleston. So, with that said, point this out here and point it back to you. We named it Philadelphia Alley after dueling became illegal and stupid. And you know, we named it after a city that saved us from one of our many, many fires. Not to mention Philadelphia is easy for me to remember because that's exactly where Liza Pinckney's buried. So, lots of Philadelphia references. So when I get my folks from Philadelphia, it's always a lot of ties. Alright, so what happened down there is we all talk about one specific duel. Watch out. So, one specific duel that actually occurred here because we can actually prove it, and it actually did happen. So, he thinks he's just after the doctor her money. So, he moved to Charleston to prove that he's not. The doctor's name is Joseph Brown Ladd. So again, his name will pop up quite a bit here. So the doctor moves down here. The coachman that brought him into town set him up to be robbed and killed. He's dressed pretty well. He just graduated med school, so he looks like he's got some money. Somebody walking by. His name is Ralph Isaacs. He sees what's going on and tells the doctor, "You don't want to stay here. This guy's going to try to kill you." So keep in mind, Ralph also has the same initials as to where the doctor came from. Rhode Island, Ralph Isaacs. R.I. will show up a lot here, especially on your talking about a duel. Not specific enough, but I'll take it. But anyway, the two become friends, Ralph and this doctor, and he takes him to 59 Church Street where he can actually rent a room. The number's
I heard Jesus Christ.
We're really close to a church. It's not uncommon for us to actually hear something close. If you could see the steeple off in the distance.
That's what
No.
92.
92? No. It's not. I want to say the doctor died in 1970. Back to the story. See, you didn't have track. She's excited, can you tell? So the doctor and Ralph go see plays together, but because the doctor makes more money, he can't sit next to his friend Ralph. He gets better seats. That's just the way the hierarchy went back then. So the doctor is also known as the whistling doctor because he was making so much money, and that meant Amanda's moving down soon. Every haunted city has a whistler. Ours just happens to be a doctor. So back to the plays, they're seeing William III one night. They're talking about the play on the way home. They start arguing because the doctor loved the new actress that was here, and Ralph did not. Then Ralph starts insulting the doctor's fiance back home in Rhode Island. It just gets really ugly, and they go their separate ways. So Ralph is from here. He goes to his friends at the newspaper and places an ad telling the whole city of Charleston what he thinks about the doctor. So the doctor sees this nasty ad, and he rebuttals with, "Let's go to Jewelers Alley. We're going to settle this." So they come down, they take their 20 paces, they turn, the doctor points his gun in the air, and he shoots. He did not want to kill his friend. He just wanted the courage to show up to the fight, like most duels, right? Ralph has one shot. Sorry, he shoots him in the kneecap. He didn't want to kill his friend either, but he also wanted to make a point. The doctor didn't die right away. His friends picked him up and carried him home to 59 Church Street, where he died 10 days later after refusing other medical treatment, and he probably died because he is a doctor and tried to bleed himself out. So, they say as you walk through this alley, you can actually hear the whistles from the doctor. What I want you guys to keep in mind, if you're going to be here the next couple of days and you plan on walking through it here, because I technically can't take you all the way through it, turn on your voice recorders. Take a listen. However, people walking down Cumberland, which is the road we're on, or Cumberland, that's either side of the alley, we throw whistles down the alley. I'm one of them. On my way back to my garage every night, I still throw a whistle down the alley to kind of throw off the other tourists. So again, it's not going to be really loud. It's going to be a faint whistle, and you don't get a whole lot of noise back there. That's why they say you can hear the whistles and or the gunshots. Do you remember when you heard bang bang? This is the spot. She also heard the number 7 back at the Pinckney Mansion site, which is also relevant here because the doctor's birthday is July 7th, which would be 7/7. So again, if those terms were heard here, I would have been super stoked. However, I'm not stoked because it was over there. So, very interesting spot. Also, piece of history down here at the very end, and part of the reason why I got caught going down there is because the bricks, as you walk on them, get older. This alley didn't always come up to Cumberland. It's changed many times over the years. Those bricks at the end are sun-dried bricks from slave children. We have full fingerprints and handprints in those bricks down there that you can see from the slave kids, and I would always point that out as part of our history because you can see one full, very blatant, obvious handprint, and it is that of a child because it's small. It is right outside this gentleman's dining room and front door. With all of my blinky lights and everything you guys have going on, he'd come out of blaring one night, and I was like, all right, guess I'm not coming down here anymore. So I had to reroute the tour where we're about to go. Have we heard anything else on the spirit boxes or seen any of the terms before we move on? Okay, and I know, Laura, yours isn't on. So yours is volume down because you're following direction well. All right, let's go see, let's go up to the church and see if we get any more religious terms. I'm not surprised, by the way. You'll see on the other tours. It's on every single night around this corner.
Nope, I hear 777. I just heard that.
So
Like
sevens,
7, like 2 or 3 times.
7 will show up here either once or twice. If it's once, it normally goes to
Yes, yeah, from society. Oh, this is like some MTV show was on there, but I'm very
I think I hear sirens.
I'm very close to where Seaside
Down
is.
there.
Yeah. How about in the yard? Wherever you guys.
We're from
Just vacationing for a few days? Or?
yeah, and then we just got here yesterday, and from here we're going to
Oh, nice.
How about you?
Yeah. Does New York do the teacher convention?
I'm sorry?
Does New York do the teacher convention? Like, do the schools do the teacher convention where the kids have all the
Yeah, we've never been here either. And we needed to have been in years.
Oh, I know.
Vacation got canceled. So, yeah.
Yeah, just the change of scenery.
Exactly. So, and the cities are only 2 hours. I heard both of these cities would be great. So, same thing.
Yeah. No, it's nice.
And why do I keep forgetting the name?
Marley.
I got everybody else's videos. Yeah, I got everybody's videos. I keep forgetting. I was trying to come up with a way to remember. One of the reasons why I like to stop here is, first off, every other tour, you can actually throw your video over here for a few minutes because we're going to be here for like 5 if you want. I like to stop here because every other tour likes to stop at the church. I am going to tell you that story just to kind of show you like what they're actually going through. But again, it's a cemetery, so I like to point out a few other things in this location because there's so much that goes on. And Adrian, I'm going to ask you what words we have here in just a minute. But if you look behind you, that's actually over the courtyard. There's a wall back there. That's Philadelphia Alley that we were just talking about. There's a wall. The wall back there actually has a doorway in it. The doorway is for when there was a loser during the duel. It was a shortcut to get to the cemetery. So that way they could go drop the body, and then that way they could go celebrate the winner a little bit quicker. So very cool stuff. So that's one thing I actually like to point out first. So any words that you have, what do you got? Give me the last 4 words.
Listen, lean, beat, and area.
You have listen. I told you guys to listen for whistles as you go through the alley. That means I definitely have to pay attention to some audio pieces and spirit boxes. So I'm going to take that listen as almost like the whistling part. So again, it's almost like a direct relation. It's not specific enough for me yet, but at least it's giving me some direction to make sure I pay attention tomorrow. All right, so let's kind of go through some of the motions. We'll start with theirs. What they're actually working on up there. So there's 2 different sides to the cemetery that I like to point out first off. The side that we're sitting on, this is the eastern side. This is for native Charlestonians only. The other side is for everybody else. So your 7th vice president is buried across the street, John Calhoun. So reason why he's over there is because they couldn't figure out which side he was supposed to go on. He is in a sarcophagus. You can actually visit him during the daytime, but they didn't know which side he was supposed to go to, so they just moved his sarcophagus back and forth until they figured it out that he's just lived here. He's not actually from here. So again, it was kind of a weird speculation. But if you know anything about your vice president, you probably already knew that. The story that they're telling, that one's a weird kind of story. There's a sign just inside that gate to the cemetery that says there's no ghosts here, but the Holy Ghost. The reason for that, in 1888, a young lady dies by the name of Sue Howard Hardy. Her initials, just like we talked about at Philadelphia Alley, Sue Howard Hardy. I wouldn't say that cheesy line to you unless I actually seen it and heard it for myself. So when I'm telling the story, some of those things will pop up. She dies 6 days after her stillborn child. What happens from there is in 1987, we have a local photographer in town. He's taking pictures of our beautiful cemeteries. He's going to put a book together. Is everything okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys can actually see I actually care. Like, I want to make sure you guys are good to go. But at any rate, so he's putting his book together, and he's going to develop his own pictures, and he captures a full apparition in one of his photographs over that specific grave. The photograph is a woman wearing a shawl, kind of leaned over the grave with a baby basket next to her. Now, I am going to show you this picture, and this is something new that I've been doing on the tours with the tablet. However, it is cursed to females. So, we have mostly females here tonight, so do not touch my tablet. What happens from here is if you're handling it, even on your cell phones or electronic devices, you're going to have the same kind of symptoms like what I told you about at Big John's. Headache, queasy, nauseous. Females that are pregnant and holding this picture, not going to have a good pregnancy based on the gist of the story of her losing her stillborn child. So again, I'm not going to be the guy where somebody had a great vacation and then I cursed your family 9 months from now. So again, I was kind of leery about even showing the picture, but again, sometimes I have to give you guys the link based on what comes up out of your data. But with that said, it is a very distinguishable picture. Kodak could not even debunk this picture because you have to remember, it's 1987 when this man took the photo, and we don't have the technology back then that we have now, so he can't debunk the picture at all. So this is the full picture that he took. I'm going to go around so everybody can see. This is the full apparition with their back and the baby basket next to her. I'm sure you guys can see that. So full picture. Blow it up on the apparition. There's a woman leaned over the grave with a baby basket next to her.
She's pregnant.
Who is?
So, again, this is stuff that guys like me, this is gold. The other thing that the church did to try to deter jerks like me from taking photographs to try to recreate it was they put up a light. You guys can see the light in the trees back there. It is a different kind of light that points directly at the sign. So if somebody's trying to point their cameras in there, trying to recreate the photo, they think they're helping deter it. However, the cameras we're using go right through stuff like that. So they should know better. But that's the reason why that sign is there, and that's the story that every ghost tour ends with. So it's a very interesting story. They drag it out for 10 minutes to make it a big finale because they have some kind of proof to show you, whereas we are trying to create proof, and I think we've actually found quite a bit tonight. A couple of things about pirates. Let's get your mindset there before we dive into the female pirate across the street. So first off, do you guys know anything about pirates here in Charleston? Because there's been a lot of stories. Other tours we'll talk about. No, he was not.
I heard someone say that.
No, he was not.
North Carolina.
Yeah, he was actually killed.
Otway Burns.
Yeah, he was killed. He wasn't hung.
Someone said that, and I was.
Yeah, they were wrong. We had a gentleman pirate here. He was, how do I put this? A gentleman pirate back in the golden age of piracy just meant that he had money. So he basically bought his way into piracy. And he and his men were actually captured by a man named William Rhett. And William Rhett's sarcophagus is in the western side of the cemetery. You can actually, as you're walking by, touch his sarcophagus right through the gate, just like the one you're sitting next to right now. So that's pretty cool. Again, Steve Bonnet and his men were actually hung at White Point Garden as kind of a warning to other pirates that we don't put up with piracy in Charleston. Other pirate stories. Blackbeard has visited here. I will tell you that. So the burning gas lamp y'all see in the distance past those people, that is what we call the pirate house. It does have a big anchor on the front, so when you guys are walking around town, you'll recognize it. Somebody does live there. Don't go in his backyard looking for ghosts. He gets mad just like the Philadelphia Alley guy. Don't ask me how I know who not to make mad, right? Because I'm always walking around trying to find ghosts. But that's where Blackbeard's men would come off their ships, because Blackbeard stayed behind to watch the ships. They would have a place to stay, and they would actually meet with a few girls, have a place to sleep, have a few drinks. The cool thing about that particular location was they dug a tunnel from the pirate house 1 block away to Dock Street Pier. Well, it wasn't Dock Street Theater back then. It was called Planters Inn. It was a whorehouse, a playhouse, and a hotel. Obvious attractions there. We have a little bit of a younger audience. I'll keep it PG-13. So, obvious audience, right? So, but with that, they also went there for the playhouse. The playhouse part of it was because pirates work really well with ropes and knots. They would work backstage at these playhouses, making a few extra bucks in between bartering with the locals. So again, lots of piracy history here, especially during the golden age of piracy, which we're about to go wrap up with Anne Bonny. If you know anything about female pirates, this one's really crazy stuff. So any other words that may have popped up or anything you guys were hearing before we move on? Nothing on your end, Marlon? Nothing? No words out of you?
Brilliant script and respectively.
Respectively. Pirates were not respected today.
That's for sure.
All right, let's go dive into our last stop, guys. Let's go across the street.
It's Jeremy.
Here, let me take a picture.
And it'll straighten the building back up after the earthquake's damage.
Oh.
It's a great idea that just doesn't work.
Oh.
It's just part of the Charleston charm now. So you're going to see most of our buildings actually have earthquake bolts decorated with lions or pineapples or whatever else you guys find around town. They're all over the place. So the reason why I point these out is because those are the first set of earthquake bolts we ever put in, because it's the oldest government building in South Carolina. So it was finished in 1713. Remember I told you guys about the Charlestown walls back at Lodge Alley? This is the street where the wall actually stood. So it went up past the powder magazine about half a block and started going south behind me towards the battery. The reason why is it's locked into the corners of the walls, fortified. If it gets attacked from cannon ships 3 blocks away, it's going to have a hard time going through the 32-inch thick walls. Like, those are giant. So let's say it does. It goes all the way through and blows up the gunpowder that's inside. There's sand in the roof from 1712. That just behind that is that the sand has to go up because it's not going to go out with the explosion, and then it's supposed to go up in the air and fall to put out the fire on the gunpowder. Another great idea that doesn't work. So we had another powder magazine closer to the battery. It got attacked, sand up in the air, building burned to the ground. So this one's never been attacked, but it has served in 7 different wars. There's the number 7 again, right? So Civil War was its last servant. It is a museum now. Why did I tell you all this crazy history on one little tiny building? It took 10 years to build this place. That doesn't sound like our building or our government, does it? Right? So 10 years to build a small place. Our story actually begins right in the middle of its construction. So, gotta follow me, there's a lot of twists. I'll talk slowly as I can. Young lady moves here from Ireland. Her name is Anne Cormack. She moves here with her father and his mistress. The mistress is her mother. You guys with me so far? The 3 of them are getting away from his wife. Just letting you know what the background of this, the whole story is. Back in Ireland, rumor had it that young Anne actually killed one of her servants with a knife to the belly. So I'm giving you this young lady's mentality. She was probably about 7 to 9 years old when that occurred. So when they move here, Dad buys a plantation in the Georgetown area. He becomes a plantation owner. Pretty big deal, because he can't be a lawyer down here. We already have enough lawyers. That's what he was back in Ireland. So he has lots of money. He buys a plantation. Mom dies pretty quickly, which means he starts sending the daughter down here to Charlestown to sell anything from the plantation to keep things moving. So she's pretty much a free spirit, right? She's running things on her own. As she's coming down here, we're going to fast forward. The building is finished in 1713 and 1715. Anne turns 16, 17 years old, and pirates are coming through town. Knowing her mentality of killing her servant back in the day, she's pretty stoked, right? She falls in love pretty quickly. This guy's name is James Bonny. Dad doesn't approve because he's a filthy pirate. So they run away to Jamaica. They get married. Anne Cormack becomes Anne Bonny, your most famous female pirate of the Golden Age. So when she gets there, this is not Captain Jack Sparrow, the guy that she wanted. This guy's a coward in her eyes. He's a privateer. He's a spy for the British. So what does she do? She falls in love again a few years later. This guy's name is John Rackham, a.k.a. Calico Jack. Much cooler name. He's called Calico Jack because he wears the jackets of the men he kills. He's a dapper young pirate, but he's still filthy. And he has his own ship, and Anne wants to be part of it. So in order to become part of it, he makes a deal with her because females curse pirate ships. You cannot have a girl on the crew. It just doesn't work out. So he says if you dress like the crew, you can be part of the crew. So she's okay with the cross-dressing bit because back home in Ireland, Dad used to hide her as a boy to keep her away from his wife. Just point out blank. He used to just try to hide her all the time. So she's okay with this. She's allowed to be a female in Jack's quarters. Of course, he's the captain. adults, we can put 2 and 2 together. Being a female in the quarters, she eventually gets pregnant. You cannot have a pregnant pirate guy on the crew. It's not going to work out. So he drops her off in Cuba with some friends and says, have the baby, come back, we'll figure it out later. She goes to Cuba, has the baby, returns with no child. We have no idea what happened to this kid. There's a lot of holes in this story. She's also dressed like a female. She doesn't care about hiding her gender. This makes Jack pretty mad. He just captured another pirate crew, and Anne's going to go flirting, because that's what Anne does. We're on guy number 3, in case you all lost track. The guy she's flirting with turns out to be a female dressed like a guy to be part of the pirate crew that Calico Jack just captured. So now we have 2 females doing the exact same thing on the same ship, which is also ironic. This young lady's name is Mary Reed. She convinces Mary to become part of the crew. The British find out where they are. Now, here's what's going to happen. The men are too drunk to come up. It's Anne and Mary with their 1-bullet muskets trying to defend the ship. Obviously, the ship's going to get taken from a British fleet. As they're being arrested, Anne's last words were to Jack, you should have fought like a man instead of going down like a dog. So the word dog will show up here from time to time. The judge wants to see the 2 men that fought back by themselves. He kills and hangs Calico Jack and all of his men, so they're dead and gone. The 2 ladies go in front of the judge. They reveal their gender, trying to save themselves. He doesn't care that they're female. He's still going to hang them. We plead our bellies was the last thing they said, both claiming to be pregnant, because you cannot hang a pregnant woman in 1720. It's illegal. He says, fine, we'll delay your hanging, both back to jail. Dad's still here in Charleston, bails her out, brings her back to Charleston, and she remarries, guy number 4, has 4 kids, and dies at the age of 84. That's all we know. I know, very abrupt ending, right? You thought I was going to keep going for another 30 minutes. So, what happens to Mary is she dies in 1721, a year later after their trial from whatever pirates die from in a Jamaican jail. It was probably scurvious and bumpy and gross and whatever your imagination wants to go to. So, very, very weird story because there's a lot of holes. There's only 2 facts for certain that I know of that I can give you the answers to and questions to get you started. The name of Calico Jack's ship, I'm not going to give it to you. Ask your spirit boxes. The name of Anne Bonny's parents, I know that for certain. You can ask your spirit boxes that to get started with as far as what you're going to find out. Your night vision is on, by the way. Bottom switch. So, odd story. I told you guys somebody passed out on my tour a few weeks ago, yes? So, here's what happened. We were standing right back here. Before I began the story, a young man starts to pass out, white as a ghost. It was not as cool as this night, but it was definitely a cooler night. Definitely not a heat stroke of any type of whatever. So we get him and his partner over to the wall over there next to that truck. I send the partner across the street to go get him a bottle of water. He comes back. I tell the story. Keep in mind the timeline of when I told the story. After the story was told, they pull me aside and say, hey, Nick, we need to tell you something. I'm like, okay, what's going on? So I sent everybody out to go explore with their devices. I had 2 transgender males on the tour. They were females, dressed like men. So, take that for what it's worth. I will never forget that instance. Another weird thing that's actually occurred here, I told you I've been kicked out of Philadelphia Alley, twice at least. So I will tell you why that is so relevant and why I bring it up so many times. That was last Thanksgiving, the night before. That was November 26th, 2020. 27th was Thanksgiving. I took that night off. My next night was the 28th of November, 2020. Anne and Mary's trial in front of the Chief Justice, November 28th, 1720. The exact 300th year anniversary of that trial. I didn't even believe this story. I didn't want to talk about pirates to you guys. However, that night, I have the number 300 and the name Anne show up in the same night. 300, I didn't even put 2 and 2 together until I was like, oh snap, look at the date from the trial. So, take it for what it's worth. This is a hit or miss location. Your device, I know you're trying to detect if I'm the ghost. I love the aim. But you're not going to see a whole lot of activity here. When you do, fingers crossed, something else is going to happen. So you can definitely turn on your REM pod here. For those of you with cameras, if you want to go to the front of the building and put your cameras in the gates, by all means do so. The only thing I ask is you do not interrupt other tours because, again, they already don't like me. We have blinky lights that they don't. So I definitely want to see your list. Your camera's already been changed, but let's spread out. Let's have some fun. Depending on how much activity we get here, this is where we're going to end. We'll end up by that wall. So that's where I'm going to be hanging out if you want to come back and run and tell me something that you guys heard. Fair?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, let me see your list. Everybody else, let's spread out. Oh, look at that. Constitution. You want to know why that's relevant?
Why?
It's because Charles Pinckney, the signer, buried across the street.
Oh, wow.
Yep. And I get the name Charles over here all the time.
Give us some information to fill in some of those holes. question are we supposed to ask again?
What?
What questions are we supposed to ask?
Name of the band, can I?
Yeah, give us some names. Interesting.
Is he talking about this house?
Yeah, these two. It's the oldest house in the city.
Rich, any craziness coming out of you over here?
No, sir.
Okay.
I have no idea what this word is.
I don't either.
I never heard of that word.
What is it?
Thurifer?
Thurifer.
Thurifer?
I have no idea. I've never seen that before. No idea.
Yeah.
It doesn't even rhyme with anything from the
No,
story.
no. Is it a word that you can
I don't
look
know.
it up on my phone?
I normally, when something comes across, I don't know what it is. I still give you guys the definition, so that way it's not like I'm the only person that's like left in
Unless
the dark.
it's a name.
I doubt it.
Interesting.
Likely its real name will show up.
Do you think?
Anything?
Rich, let me take a picture of you. Actually, stand over here.
Yeah, the light's right there. Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters!
And then now, like, turn the camera toward me. Or, yeah. Okay. Here, Mom, take a picture. Rich, look this way, though. Rich, turn toward me. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3.
I should take out my list.
What word you got now?
Reading, but I had the weirdest word before. He
Yes.
never even heard of it. Neither one of us heard of
It
it.
could be Old English or something like that.
Thurifer.
Google it.
You have any examples of people spotting ghosts occasionally? No. No, first of all, I don't.
rear camera in here a couple of times. If I had a smaller group, I used that in one red S box, a recordable one. And if I'm standing next to the person wearing or using the recordable S box, that will put a white film over them. I'm perfectly fine, and then their S box stops working. I've seen that twice now. So
you want to try it?
People usually do, and that was, like, I would say it's probably a good 7 or 8 months ago, the last time that occurred.
But you came in clear anytime you were talking and I was filming.
What do you mean I came in?
No, everybody looked fine.
Oh, okay. And somebody would have told me that their spirit box died, for sure. Because the girls are listening straight with earbuds.
Wait, I have a question. How old was she when she died?
84.
Oh, okay. I heard 7, 8.
Yeah, you guys are killing me with these numbers. I gotta look them all up. You're throwing me off a little bit.
Gotta look up that word she came across.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's on the list. I don't have to write that one down because I'll definitely die with that one. 78. So she was born in 97, died at the age of 84.
Is that 81?
81. 1781, which we don't have an 81.
Give us something.
I know it's really hard sometimes to like hear anything. Like I'm just like that's what before I had it blasting.
So that's why I gave out earbuds now. Like the earbuds thing is new. So I just started doing that a few weeks ago, and it's actually working out.
They're using a K2.
Millimeter.
No meter?
Millimeter.
Oh, millimeter. Okay. Are you getting readings?
Yeah.
It went to red.
How much is on here? Yeah, you got your electrical, but
But the motion.
I felt the chill. I felt the chill. It was like
come on, guys, let's let them.
it's supposed to do their thing.
Yeah.
Alright, well that was exciting for a brief.
I guess both.
Okay. Sugar would be a little bit more prominent because that, I mean, the salt piece is almost like stuff they had tried to steal.
Yeah.
They all like to stop and see what I'm doing.
A lot of competition, huh?
It's cutthroat down here, dude. I mean, it really is. I mean, I own this business. I think I'm a private guy, which I don't mind. Like he's asked my people questions before, but some of them really want to pry.
Oh, I'm sure.
And they want to tell you guys that what we're doing is not real and what they're doing is. I'm like, you're telling stories, whatever. Have fun.
Terrible.
Oh, I know.
You know,
That's why I just stay out of their way. I just let them do their
that's
thing.
what business
cut,
is. I
cut the
mean,
video.
You can cut the video.
That's
So
what business is, you know.
Yeah.
Then you do it if you think it's.
nobody will. That's the thing. This
No.
stuff's expensive. All right. Well,